Now, what do you think about Palantir? You were with me when we saw this bad boy run up past 960. It has maintained 950 for almost 2 weeks. I did not expect that. What are your thoughts post earnings on the price action of the stock?
So I'm very happy that it's holding. I would have liked it to be above $10. I'm happy that it is holding. And I have a feeling something has to do with Kathy and maybe buying more on the back end. My theory is commercial is growing. Everybody's focusing on commercial, and rightfully so. However, I do believe that government contracts are going to come in as well, both domestically and abroad. And the reason why I'm saying this is because of exactly what's happening right now. It's on the job training, what's happening in Ukraine. I follow what's happening in Ukraine and Russia. If anybody doesn't know, I'm like Soviet descent. So I'm a little closer to home about this. And the offensive that Russia did for the last 9 months or so, now there's a counteroffensive in Ukraine. And Russia, on Russian media, at first they didn't mention it, but now they're literally mentioning Palantir or a third-party AI company that's helping them. Well, yeah, I mentioned this before. I think we did a live before, and there was like a high-ranking official on the ground. So I guess he would be a captain or a lieutenant, right? Like not a general, but somewhere like high-ranking. And he was on Russian television, and he was speaking in Russian. I speak Russian. And the woman says, hey, why are the Ukrainians moving village to village and we're moving meter to meter? Essentially, why are they making big gains and we're making small gains? And she says, with all due respect, I don't understand. I'm not a military person. And this was a while ago, probably a year back. And he says, look, besides for us fighting not just Ukraine, but the strength of NATO supporting them, we're also fighting against technology. And he says they have a company that tells them exactly where they should be and where they shouldn't be. So he's like, if we're going north, they're going to go south. And if we're going north, they'll know the exact time to break our lines in the middle to separate both of our, armies. And he's like, it's very difficult to counterbalance that. He literally said that I'm paraphrasing, but he did say that. And then there's
Russia absolutely knows about Palantir. They know
100%, without a doubt, because besides for articles, literally this guy, I can find you the interview eventually. I think I even made a video on it. Literally the guy said, he's like, there is a third party company. Before they said that there's actually also a Chinese article from China that says that Ukraine is being aided by an artificial intelligence third-party American company that is in some university in China. This is China publicized this. This is a Chinese article. And that's the way that's one of the reasons why Ukraine is able to survive. And I can tell you one other thing. So there's a lot of people that have hate one way or the other. So let's just think logical. Ukraine was supposed to fall in 3 days. This is a fact. This is what every single person was saying. 3 days, every analyst. Ukraine survived. Ukraine was supposed to fall another dozen times this entire time. But not only are they surviving, they're holding their ground and they're taking ground back. So in a couple of days, they took back weeks of Russia taking. And the full counteroffensive didn't start yet. So we're acknowledging that Palantir is in fact working. Russia is acknowledging that there is a company called Palantir. There are Russian articles literally calling out Palantir. They say Palantir in Russian language. And China called out Palantir. So we know that Palantir is there. Like, it's a fact. Everyone's recognizing it. And, they're complaining about this when they're doing interviews, live interviews, that they know exactly where we are, where we're not, where to be, and where not to be. What's the optimized position to attack and what's the optimized position to avoid. So I believe after this, and that's why Karp says, hey, invest 5% into software that actually works. Why is he saying this? Because he's going to show the world Palantir works. Now, Ukraine right now supposedly didn't even start the counteroffensive. This is like a pre-counteroffensive. And they're whooping ass right now in Bakhmut. Like, they're taking back a lot of land. And the way they're doing this is coordinating attacks between armored vehicles and tanks, drones, air support, so on and so forth. They think they took down 2 fighter jets and 1 helicopter, or 2 helicopters, 1 fighter jet. And they also taking down Russia's supersonic missiles called Dagger missiles, which were supposedly unstoppable. And they're being able to take them down with American surface-to-air missile system, Patriot system, if I'm not mistaken. So he's literally telling people, listen, guys, we are working. And if Ukraine wins, and I think in 2024, it's not going to be Ukraine wins or Russia wins, Trump is going to come in and he's going to negotiate a truce that's going to work for both parties. This is what I think is going to happen. He's going to tell Putin, listen, what do you need to save face so you don't look bad in front of your people? Putin's going to say, I need minimum this. He's then going to go up to Zelensky and he's going to be like, bro, I'm cutting off all fucking funding, which means NATO is cutting off all fucking funding. We're going to make it so that you don't look bad, and you guys are going to broker this. And this is exactly how it's going to end. Putin's going to say, we won. Zelensky's going to say, we won. And that's how it's going to end. That's my personal opinion. Yeah. Any president's going to do the same. But probably Trump is one of the few that actually has the balls to do it. So that's my answer about Palantir. And I think that they're going to make a lot of money with government contracts here and abroad. And he's setting it up.
So having said that, and I wrote this in my deep dive yesterday, I'm assuming this 18% year over year thing for revenue, you think is no way. Like it's going to come in at least 20%, and you think we're sandbagging. Given if management is saying this AIP demand is ridiculous, and then you got these government deals you're talking about, and then we still got NHS to factor in, I think they're sandbagging just because they don't want to raise expectations, just like they did for Q1 revenue.
So I'm a little worried about the next specific quarter. Because where's the money going to come from? I'm also scared of, I think Treasuries is holding up, but Treasuries right now is paying less than they did before. And even a 1% difference in Treasuries makes a huge difference on 1.5 billion, 1.6 billion. That's like what, $16 million? No.
Yep.
A lot of money. So automatically they have to make more money in order to accommodate that gap profitability. What they really need to make those numbers work this specific coming quarter is they need NHS landed, or they need a lot of money from that new $900 million Space Force contract, things like that. If not, a lot of people are going to get their, hope that the price goes back and be able to buy. But you never know what's going to happen. There's so many contracts that are not being mentioned. They're really quiet about their contracts last quarter, and we'll see.
And that's, I think if AIP demand hits up by Q4, then I think Q2 I'm expecting to be kind of shitty, to be honest, because they guided like that, and I expect them to guide with zero revenue growth quarter to quarter. But if by Q4 all those things start adding up and those hundreds of conversations move from beta in the AIP to actual, I think we smash revenue growth this year. I don't know if it's 24, 25%, but it's not 18%. I don't think that sounds like profitability in 2025 to me. That just sounds fake.
So the AIP, I'm not taking into account at all. You're right, 100%. There's huge demand for this, and you could see it. Like if you just do Google Trends and search AI, not ChatGPT, not Bard, just search AI. It is the same hype for AI as Bitcoin was in 2017. You could check it. They're literally peaked together. So there is so much hype behind this. And just look at Twitter, right? And first of all, I never realized Twitter is an echo chamber like YouTube, like the same influencers, because everyone's going to say the same thing. ChatGPT is dead. You have to be using.
Oh my God. You've seen these threads, right? It's like Google just told ChatGPT. Here's what happened. A million views. I'm like, oh my God.
I just realized literally that is what's happening. Literally, I just realized that. Don't do past day, do past 5 or something, whatever. 5 years.
Or 5 years. Let me do 5
No, yeah, 5 years.
Look at that. So the red is Bitcoin, everybody. So this is 2021. This is when the price was around 50, 60 grand. Or no, about 40 grand. Price got to 60 grand around November. And then this is AI.
Right? Is that not crazy? Bro, that's insane. Like people are not realizing how big AI is. And we're just beginning. Look, I'm going to keep saying it over and over and over again. You don't need to do much about AI. Microsoft and Google or Alphabet are going to be doing all the work for you. Everyone's going to piggyback off of Microsoft and Google. You think Microsoft is dead? No, they're going to spend tens of billions, and Google's going to counter with tens of billions. They will both prosper. All these little companies are going to, die away for the most part or get accumulated. And then you have Palantir that's not going to get accumulated because they're not going to sell. They're big enough and have enough money that they don't need funding. And they're making a program for businesses. I asked Bard the same thing I asked ChatGPT. Is Palantir AIP as revolutionary for business and military as you guys are for everyday use? And both of them said the same thing. Yes. So, I mean, what else do you guys need? AIP is the next big thing. It's going to freaking take over everything.
Going to your point, this was a great comment I got on a video I did yesterday. The guy said, execution of the sales team is entirely different now that ChatGPT has gone mainstream. Now the whole world is curious what language learning models are like, being that Palantir sells an expensive product that involves a company's IT department. The sales cycle is probably 1 to 2 years before ChatGPT now, and probably 6 to 8 months with 7 to 8 follow-up calls. Now with GPT going mainstream, they probably get appointments in one call. And this is, I think, what Karp was talking about. He's saying the demand is greater than what I've seen in 20 years because the whole world, as what you're saying, Microsoft, Google are doing all the work. They're doing the marketing for AI. And so when a salesperson calls, people know what AI is, and they're like, all right, how can we implement that? I mean, if you call me and you tell me how can you can put AI to supercharge my YouTube channel, I'm just like, I'm really interested. Or my startup, I'm really interested. I'm going to take the call, even if I don't buy. I'm going to really pay attention, right?
So I have it on my channel. I caught this interview. They were talking about earnings, and it was a Yahoo, TD Ameritrade or Yahoo, I think Yahoo. And it was a white woman and a black dude, and those are the corresponders, if you guys want to check it out. So she literally says, I guess Palantir and AI was here the whole time, just nobody was paying attention. She said that.
Well, what was this for? What type of interview was this?
Right after earnings.
Oh, right after earnings. Okay.
And she was just shocked. She goes like, I guess this was always here. And she literally said like this, like she's talking, you're the guy, I'm her. And she's like, I guess artificial intelligence was always here and companies always could have done this, but nobody was paying attention, right? And that's what she said. Like, I'm paraphrasing, but she was like shocked. Like, she's like, we never knew this even existed, but Palantir had it the whole time. Yeah, it was Yahoo. Thank you so much. So when you have analysts that are like literally shocked, I mean, this tells you something. Nobody even understands what's coming. And I think Palantir is going to take a lot of cookies. Are they going to have the lion's share? Are they going to, outwork Google and Microsoft? I'm going to tell you no, but it's vice versa as well, because they're doing something completely different. Yeah. And I mean, it's going to be freaking huge.
It's so exciting, bro. It's like, that's why you and me cover it so much. It's like one of the, like, what other company is this exciting to cover outside of Tesla? It's like, there's just not many. There's really
mean,
if it actually lives up to the potential, if it actually becomes a $40, $50 stock in a couple of years, right, and 5Xs and does what it needs to do,